Hello, viewers. This is Dr. Kamar Chima at the Sanober Institute, and today we have an excellent panel to talk about one particular question that are regional countries ready to help Pakistan in countering terrorism? There have been more than 57 attacks in 48 hours in Pakistan, and obviously, and these attacks are in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and in Balochistan, and somewhere around 28 districts have been. Uh, these are the districts where the terrorists are attacking or which are the hotspots at the moment. So we're having a conversation on this issue that how regional countries can cooperate, or either we can cooperate or not. And because at the moment when we are talking, there is the intelligence chiefs of a few important global countries have gathered in India. And Pakistan is not there. So, what kind of a cooperation the intelligence chiefs are having in India, while the next door neighbor Pakistan is being highly impacted by these terrorist, incidents. So we have an excellent panel. We have with us former Foreign Secretary and the Chairman Sanober Institute, Ambassador Azaz Ahmad Chaudhry, and we have with us Mr. Muhammad Amir Rana, who's a security expert. He writes for the Dawn, and he's a noted and powerful voice in Pakistan, who is very well known on the security challenges in Pakistan. So, Ambassador Azaz, just opening remarks from you, and then obviously we will go to Mr. Amir Rana. How do you see this question that can there be a regional cooperation in countering terrorism, sir?
Thank you, Chima Saab. My own sense is that this region in which Pakistan is located is unfortunately the least integrated region and the most misunderstood region. If you look at the global context, when the world order is in disarray, most of the countries are now looking inwards towards their own regions, except South Asia, where the bigger country, India, has its own global ambitions, but unfortunately does not have any regional ambition. It says that India, that neighborhood first, but it is really not taking its neighboring countries along. So when you say that we need a regional approach to counterterrorism, it makes perfect sense to me, but I don't see that happening, at least in our own region. We first need to also understand that while the world is grappling with several conflicts, particularly in Europe and Middle East, uh, terrorism hasn't really gone away. That threat is still there. And the kind of threat that is now emanating from Afghanistan, at this time, Pakistan is bearing the brunt of it. But other neighbors are also getting concerned, and very soon the world itself will come to know that this is a threat that they must not be, complacent about. And so, a regional approach, as you have already, indicated in your opening remarks, is important. But how do we persuade the regional countries that today it is Pakistan which is suffering from this threat, but it can actually proliferate to other countries in the region? So that's a big challenge, and that's what we would like to know from Mr. Amir Rana, who has spent his lifetime on studying these dynamics, and he might be able to better guide us. Thank you.
Yes. So, Amir Rana Saab, this question that can there be regional cooperation? How will you figure out this? Pakistan and China are important partners, but hardly there seems a joint collaboration or joint mechanism for dealing with these transnational terrorist organization. It seems that China is concerned only about its own security, but doesn't have a view for the region. India has silenced itself and is not looking towards this region, wants to deal bilaterally, but no mechanism for the regional. Once it was started by the NSA Doval, which the Pakistan rejected at that time, in Iran, and then other countries are there. So, how you find this question? Do you find there is any ray of hope in this, or do you believe that everyone will have to manage its own threats on?
Yeah, thank you, Kamachimasa, for having me in this discussion. And Ambassador Sab was right, pointing out that each nation in our region, they have different priorities, and they are facing the varying type of the geopolitical challenges, and which of course determine their course for cooperation, whether it's a security sector cooperation or economic or in the strategic relationship. So there is less chances for the convergence of their interests, despite we have a few regional mechanisms. The most important one is the SCO, and which got the mandate to address uh, uh, all these concerns related to security and non-traditional security threats, the serious organized crime. Despite that, we have our different priorities. And Pakistan's is, of course, you're right, and Ambassador Saab is right that what we are suffering right now, the other nations can suffer too, and they have to learn from this lesson. But India, we can assume that they may be waiting and they're looking at us and maybe just teasing us that what was happening in India, especially in the northern part, and the Pakistan was not as responsive as India was expecting at that time. And I think his reference, Prime Minister Modi even gave in a recent interview, and he just mentioned about the Pakistan roles in India. So this is, I think, we can't expect any assistance or collaboration from India. So this is very much clear because this is very different sort of the case. But three countries are very important for Pakistan. And first we have to look at what kind of the terrorism threat we are facing. We are facing three level of the threats. One is the transnational, second is the which is originating from Afghanistan, which is has character of the religious militancy, and third is the insurgency, which is very much internal. And for each of these threats, we need the different type of the framework for the collaborations. And in but Pakistan and China somehow share the common interest dealing with all three kind of the threats. So this is important. But for the religiously motivated threat and the Baloch insurgency, the support from Afghanistan is most crucial. And for typically addressing the Baloch insurgency issue, Iranian support is very critical. And even during the 70s, uh, uh, Pakistan and Iran had conducted the joint operation against the insurgents in Balochistan because they were posing equal level of the threat for the both countries. And this is, I think, very important. And China, which is already had invested a lot in Balochistan and other CPAC projects in the rest of the country, and where the BLA and other band organizations, they are specifically targeting the Chinese interest, and they targeting or hitting the Chinese interest. This is a case apart, but their ideology and political view also have evolved, and they see China as one of their enemy. And this is, I think, a very interesting aspect because these Baloch insurgents, they always remain left-leaning organizations. They originated from the left ideology. And once there was a few groups, even the Murrays, they were inspired by, they were the Maoists basically, leaning. And they are not having the similar bond as the insurgents during the 70s had the some ideological bond with China. And this is quite ironic. And now, even claiming to be left, they have kept distance from China. And this is, maybe you may be watching what is China is doing in Myanmar, where it had somehow had, of course, this they have the strategic relationship with the military junta, but at the same time they had infiltrated within the left-leaning insurgents movements, the Chen movements, and now the China is offering uh, mm, the truce or the negotiation between the two parties in a country. So the Pakistan case is different, but of course, I think we have to see in the three contexts for each kind of the threat, what kind of the help we need from collaboration we need from our neighboring countries. We can discuss it later, but another crucial point is the Pakistan economy. and is it capable to or afford to a major military operation in Balochistan or in tribal areas, and how China can help Pakistan to navigate this kind of the problems. जी भाई साहब.
So, Ambassador, if you can give me, if I can say this question, put a question to you, is there a way, or can it happen that Pakistani Prime Minister picks up a telephone and calls Prime Minister Modi, "I need your cooperation in countering terrorism"? Do you think that there is a possibility of that? Do you think we should do this, or do you think that we should at domestic level, for example, I want to be very clear. At domestic level, we have been saying India is involved. India is involved. Are we giving the sufficient proofs to India that this is where we have got the proofs? This is the financial support you are giving. This is the logistical support you are giving, and you need to help us because somewhere even Prime Minister Modi may not know what's going on, but maybe the Indian deep state is involved. So Prime Minister Modi, I need your help. Do you think that Prime Minister of a country, because normally I have seen this, there is a silence at the federal government, or the Prime Minister or the Foreign Minister do not speak much on this. So do you think that we can talk directly, or we should talk? Because building up this narrative at home is fine, but not communicating at the right level, don't you think this is a deficiency? What would you say on this, sir?
Chiru I subscribe to the theory that much of the threat that we face, its dynamics are external as well as internal, but the solutions are entirely internal. Um, I am not as convinced as some of us are that the outsiders will come and help us to overcome the threat of terrorism. The first quantum of actions will have to be internal. And if they are in the right directions, the external actors will also come in and help. Now, people know that there is a strong feeling of deprivation in Balochistan, and it's a complicated story. This entire system of having A category areas and B category areas and the levies and the sardars, etc. So there's a big background to that. Now Pakistan has failed to handle it through its own governance mechanisms, and that's something that we have to fix ourselves. And only if we take the right steps, then the outsiders will come and help you. Because otherwise the outsiders will come, all right, we bring in our troops and we have our troops on ground. If we want to resolve it, okay. If Chinese feel that their Gwadar port or other installations are under threat, they will say, okay, if you can't handle it, we'll come and do it ourselves. So I am great believer in self-help and self-action first, and then the outsiders will help. Now, under the present circumstances, when India and Pakistan are having such deep misgivings and such deep mistrust, our Prime Minister picking up a phone and calling the Indian Prime Minister, he will probably not take a call. You remember 27 February 2019 when Prime Minister Imran Khan wanted to speak to Prime Minister Modi and he did not take the call. So, you have to prepare the grounds first, build up the trust with your neighbors, and then expect some help from them. So therefore, my suggestion to my own authorities would be that please focus internally first, look at the causes, and there are plenty of people like Mr. Rana who have been writing about these problems, these internal problems. Look at them, take that advice, hold brainstorming sessions, political parties, conferences, and come to a solution. And part of that solution would be some kind of help from countries like China, Iran, that you mentioned, Afghanistan, and India. Now, the three kinds of threats that Mr. Rana, pointed out in this whole spectrum, transnational, Afghanistan original and internal insurgency. They need, a composite action, first internally and then with some external help. So I don't recommend that our Prime Minister should simply pick up the phone and call Prime Minister of India, because he will not take the call. We know for a fact that Indians are sponsoring Balochistan insurgency, even if the Indian media is not accepting it. I remember in the Rashtra University, I personally heard myself on a video that Mr. Ajit Doval said that we'll give to Pakistan in Balochistan what they are giving to us in Kashmir. This was 2014. Now we can see that it is happening actually. But the control of all the events is within us. It's our responsibility. When 9/11 happened, did the Americans give up holding their, 4th July receptions and events and celebrations? No, their life goes on because their own law enforcement authorities ensured that no outsiders will come and create trouble for us. So if Indians are supporting Baloch elements, I think it is up to us to control the dynamics inside. Nobody from outside will come and help. And once you make sure that nobody can do a thing here, you will see that BLA will lose its relevance, and its sponsors, financial sponsors, will also not find it money's worth to give it to them. That's my take on it.
Okay. So, Rana Sahab, how do you see Iran as a country? We have been hearing from few sources in Pakistan, or sometimes there have been an open conversation that this Balochistan insurgency has some sort of relevance with the Iran, because there are some tribes, Baloch tribes, who are on the other side of the border. So they go and they hide. And if you remember last time, there was some issue between Pakistan and Iran, and the Pakistan did strike in Iran, and those were the Iranian authorities did accept that these are non-Iranians who were targeted. So how Pakistan and Iran can cooperate? Because at the end of the day, we share a long border, and you can also mention if what concerns the Iranians share with us, or what reservation they have with us. So on this question of countering
Yeah,
terrorism.
thank you, Chiva. And I think this is a little complex, did talking about the Iranian Pakistan's common security challenges and how it became complicated over time. And when I was referring to the 70s joint operation against the Baloch insurgents, both by Iran and Pakistan, so at that time, it was common enemy was very clear, and Baloch insurgents, and even at that time was uh, talking about the greater Balochistan, comprising on the Sistan's few districts, which is Baloch dominated, and few districts in Afghanistan. So this was the context at that time, and even the Baloch insurgents groups subscribes to the similar ideology and the political view that eventually they have to create the greater Balochistan, and which will have the districts from Iranian Sistan Balochistan province as well. But what happened over the time that the few Islamist groups emerged within Iranian Sistan Balochistan, and initially it was the Jandullah Abdul Malik Rigi, and he had very clear support from Western countries, and even is acknowledged by the few, even including the US think tanks, that they got this. He got the support from Western countries, and he was regular visitor of the foreign embassies here in Islamabad before launching his movement, and he was also had developed the connection with the Arabian few Gulf states, including Saudi Arabia. And after when Iran eliminated this group, another group emerged, which is called the Jaish al-Adal. And the profile of this group is also very interesting because of their linkages this time with more Gulf-based countries, and their leaders and their members often visit Gulf countries. So this is, I think, complicated. And Iranian view, you know that about the Gulf, and in Iran, we know that it has the proxies all over the Middle East, and maybe one of two countries, Gulf countries, they try to sport some proxies, anti-Iranian proxies in Balochistan, Sistan, and which they had bases in Pakistan. So if you recall, when the Imran Khan had visited first to Iran, even the issue was being highlighted, and it has basically triggered the differences between the military brass at that time and to Imran Khan. And it's a long story, we're not going into detail and how it had taken the ugly turns in civil military relations. So this is complicated, and again, Iran starts supporting the Baloch insurgents movement. And there is a on ground evidence are available, especially in the districts of Balida, and where the people, and even in Panjgur, the people know that these insurgents, they are hiding, their families are living in the Iranian side. And the issue only remain either they are providing them the training as well or not. But this is clear that they are using Iranian soil as the hideouts. So this is a bit complicated, but we can talk about later that how both countries can evolve the better collaboration addressing the common challenge. Right now, Iranian, despite they know that the BLA and BLF both they are anti-Iranian, but they're supporting because they believe that Pakistan is basically helping Jaish al-Adl to launch attacks inside Balochistan. This is underreported, but I think Jaish al-Adl activities, this is also as well at a very critical level, targeting Iranian security guards and infrastructure in Iran. So this is the one issue, but Iranian help, which is also linked with Iran, Kulbushan, everybody remember, and we present it at international level at one of the proof. And of course, it is a one proof of the Indian involvement here, but who had provided the hideouts to permission to operate this system. This is also is very critical. But Indian involvement is visible at many fronts. Uh, I'm not saying when providing the training, it's very difficult right now to provide training. But at the two level, the support for the Baloch insurgency is very important, critical to understand. And if you look at the recent strategy announced by the BLA, is say that they will launch a global campaign, diplomatic campaign to get their insurgency and right to fight international recognition on the similar pattern as the Kurds had did. And for these kind of the campaign, India always remained their major sport. If you may recall, this few years back, the Baloch diaspora, which inclined towards the separatist tendencies, they had launched a massive campaign against Pakistan and the support of the Balochistan freedom. And it was openly supported by the Indian high commissions or the Indian nationals or the organization funded by the Indian organization. So this, in my view, this challenge is also very important. It has regional and uh, global dynamics. The challenge the Pakistan need to face and to counter. So this is the support is very evident, and the Indian media and how they are supporting, highlighting this movement and generating. This is the war in the cyberspaces, rather, if I may say, in the algorithm domain. And right now, the Balochistan insurgency algorithm is controlled by India. All social media, international media campaigns, if you look at, is algorithm is quietly uh, turning in the favor of the Baloch insurgents. So Pakistan may be also facing this challenge. And rest of the issues, we know that we or dimension, internal dimension of this conflict. Originally, they are Baloch insurgency and TTP. They are internal issues, and we need to review our strategy. In both of our strategy, the political component is missing, and this is missing from, at least in the Balochistan case, is missing from day one. Despite the national action plan talk about the reconciliation Balochistan, but we haven't paid attention on this at all. So this is, I think, the how the security institution view Balochistan is problem. This is needed to be completely reviewed and transformed. And even in the case of Balochistan, Afghanistan is key in terrorism and the security problem, and we need to evolve an approach that through which we can engage Afghanistan, not to we create the confrontation and to uh, and if we will do that, we will push them to the wall. And what they will do in response, they got the TTP and they got the NATO weapons to provide to BLA and other groups. The Al Qaeda and I is still there. ISK though is posing a equal level of the threat for the Taliban and for Pakistan, but if they allow ISK to flourish in their eastern districts, the provinces, so to whom the ISK will target? Of course, the Pakistan. So, in my view, in terms of the collaboration, Afghanistan is important, but China is important not in terms of the providing the any operational support, but I think they understand the Pakistan economic position. And one important assistance Pakistan uh, needs now and desperately needs now the better surveillance technologies and equipments. And somehow it may be we like it or not, but China has developed the uh, better network or the capabilities to gather and process intelligence about the security threats happening in the region. And Pakistan need the mutual intelligence sharing with China. Pakistan, maybe we think that we still ahead of China in collecting, processing the intelligence in about the regional context, regional conflicts. But I think the China's capabilities are more is far ahead from Pakistan now. So this is collaborations. The one is the financial cost. Second is the intelligence cooperation. Second is the surveillance equipments, and third is the intelligence sharing which we need from China. I think
Yeah,
I, yeah,
yeah.
sir.
Can I make two comments and then
Yeah.
also ask a question from Rana Sahab?
Mhm.
Just to add to what he was saying, I remember when I was some years ago, I used to go to Geneva very regularly. I would see those buses having free Baluchistan. And very soon, then we saw an EU NGO called EU Disinfo Lab coming out with a detailed report how fake NGOs and even the websites of and the addresses of the dead people had been used to prop up this campaign about Balochistan. So Indians had their footprints almost everywhere. It was very clear. I know that if you talk to the Indian media, which Kamar Chima Sahab you do, and they don't even let you talk as soon as you raise that voice because they don't want to be exposed to the world that they are abetting insurgency at a time when they themselves are claiming to be victims of terrorism. So this is my one comment. The question that I have from Rana Saab is about Afghanistan. And he's right that we should not have a confrontation because that can be problematic, but he wants us to engage. Uh, Engage we are. I thought we are engaged with them. Why is that engagement not working?
So I think it's multiple factors, but uh, Pakistan side was little impatient to about Afghanistan, because we not only had the problem of the TTP, and by the way, this was on low our priority when the Taliban took over Afghanistan, and at that time, the few other issues were very important for in the context of the uh, regional geoeconomic collaborations, and for safeguarding the border security was the second major uh, priorities. There were a few others, which, of course, with the passage of time, it will be revealed. But the TTP was not on the top at that time. And we had the perception that when the Taliban will come into power and they will help us to address this issue, and uh, they had their own mindset, and they wanted the TTP to be engaged in a similar way as the Pakistan had to engage the Taliban with the US and the rest of the global community. Even then, we underestimated the threat because our focus were somewhere else. And meanwhile, TTP got stronger. So this was a problem, and we got impatient. So the developments we were making on other fronts, we also shut down all uh, the doors on other fronts as well. So this was a mistake from Pakistan side. For within Taliban, they also made rather blunders, and the negotiation Pakistan having with the Taliban, they were not on same page, and Haqqanis, on which Pakistan was relying more, they had made several commitments to Pakistan, but in these not been approved from Kandahar and Mullah Umar and Mullah Hassan, Mullah Hibatullah and Mullah Hassan, because of their few internal issues. And rather to engaging the Kandahar, and which was one major critical challenge for Pakistan at that time, and we used the different channels, including Maulana Fazlur Rahman. But this chapter, the Kandhari chapter, they were not very much collaborative, and despite making our effort more hard or to be more focused to engage with the Kandahar, we desperately say, okay, we are not talking with you, and we close all the doors for talks and collaboration. So this was a mistake. We were a bit impatient, despite the blunders the Taliban have made. And still, I think we got the space for engaging Taliban, both the Kandahar and Kabul, despite of their internal differences. And we can't wait that there will be fighting within the Taliban, and there will be another civil war within Afghanistan, and we will see that who will come in power. So this is not going to be happen in the near future, because Mullah Hibatullah is quite strong. His strength lies in his uh, Amar Bil Maruf Nahi Monitoring Department, and which has eyes and ears all across Afghanistan. And they mainly control right now the government Afghanistan, not Haqqanis, not Zakir, not Mullah Shiri. So this is they are very strong right now, and even they got the not only the eyes and ears, but Haqqani's fighter may be good for them, but I think the Mullah Habatullah still got the very loyal guards, and nobody can challenge him within Afghanistan. So, despite waiting any turmoil in Afghanistan, divisions in Taliban, Pakistan will have to continue engaging Taliban and prioritizing the TTP and other engagement Pakistan wanted to have on all these fronts. So this is, I think, Pakistan have to review its policy.
Rana Sahab, thank you for you have been elaborating all. But one quick last question, if I can ask you on China particularly. On this Balochistan front, we have seen that the entire Chinese investment is compromised, frankly speaking, and we are understanding that the CPAC is not working. The Chinese are leaving. These conversations we have been hearing from different sources. What stops Pakistan and China to think united or to work together on Afghanistan? Uh, this is a question many Pakistanis may be thinking that what is in Chinese approach on this? They do want to do everything unilaterally, single-handedly, or they don't want to get into this direct Pakistan-Afghanistan issue or with the militants. They don't want to engage with those. So, what's the mindset of the Chinese on this? That they have seen that Pakistan is fighting this militant organization, but the Pakistan and China do not have a joint proposal for Afghan Taliban. So why is that so? Or do you think that is the way?
Yeah, to be frank, the both China and Pakistan have the very different priorities about Afghanistan and region. China doesn't want any conflict in its neighborhood, and they are not willing to have the crisis in Afghanistan again. They wanted to give the Taliban a chance and fair chance, not only for a few months or few years, and to whom they can engage. And Taliban somehow they have developed good relation with China and helping them a lot while constructing the Wakhanwa corridor by itself and providing the Afghan nationality to all the Wakhis, which is Pakistan had missed a chance, and 70 years Pakistan had got. So this is another subject. Pakistan's priority is, to be frank, to engage with the West and with the US via Afghanistan. And Pakistan still think that this is the only one apparatus is left. It can be effectively used to get engaged with the West. So they of course these are the two different priorities. One side wanted the complete absence of violence, conflict in its neighborhood. Others maybe have the different priorities.
Hmm. Vesab, I think we should conclude the discussion. If you have any point to make or any comment to
I
make,
think this is such an interesting subject that interesting but also sad and grim. There were yet another dimension that Chimasab, you have highlighted in some of your podcasts, the killings in Pakistan. You know, the
yes.
recent killing of Abu Qatal, Sindhi, and before that Mohammad Riaz and Shai Latif, and so many target killings being sponsored most probably by India. They don't acknowledge it, but looks like that they are the ones who are after it. And also, in at least in two cases, the government of Pakistan announced that it has full proof. I wish they would share that proof completely with the whole world to see. But that's one side that we haven't really mentioned in this. But I am struck by the last comment that Rana Sahab has made on the priorities that Pakistan has and China has with in Afghanistan and the difference of the two. Mm, I honestly would want to know what is our overall priorities in relations with Afghanistan. Um, what kind of country what kind of relationship do we want? I mean, the bigger relationship, not just terrorism related. I thought we would want to have a friendly Afghanistan. We want to have a, an independent, sovereign Afghanistan, which should run its own affairs, which should have nothing to do with Pakistan except for interstate conduct, I mean, relations. Other than that, we should have nothing to do with that. But am I right? Is it an answer? Why should we co-opt or get help from the West to fix some things in Afghanistan, or cooperate with China to fix something in Afghanistan? It's an independent country and should should live an independent and sovereign life as as per the desire of the people. Chansab, can you guide us on this a little bit?
Absolutely, they got all the rights to be a sovereign country, and Pakistan. What Pakistan it is a friendly Afghanistan, but how we define a friendly country. So this is the issue. The friendly country that they, at least on certain geoeconomic, geopolitical related issues, they get our advice. So, but they were not expecting that the Taliban will uh, react in that way, and they will be choose their own path. So this is the, I think, uh, mainly issues arise at the time. But in future, I think it will take time. The both countries, Afghanistan is not going uh, anywhere because it's a neighbor, and we will have to eventually adopt a very rational and pragmatic approach about Afghanistan, and it will take time. Right now, we are still in the hangover of the NATO post-NATO exit scenario, and we still got the leadership who was engaged in all these negotiation with America, with US, or the conflict. So whole generation is here. So it will take time to all these things will get rationalized because both countries have no other way except to cooperate or collaborate. And we can't anticipate the scenarios which we had during the 70s and 80s, and neither Afghanistan can afford it. So this is eventually thing will happen, but a real concern is, so until we got this realized and things will get on its rational way, uh, Pakistan will and can suffer a lot on the terrorism fronts, and can its affect or geopolitical, geoeconomic advantages. So this is a bit critical. I think as lower as we get realize that what is in the best interest of the country, it would be better for Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Hmm. Anyhow, thank you very much for your comments. It was a very enlightening discussion by Rana Saab. All the points you made, they were relevant. And thank you very much, Ambassador Azam Chot Saab, and thank you, viewers, for listening this Snowball conversation. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice talking.